Who's a Robin fan? Raise their hands. Right here. Today we are going over the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse, The Dark Knight Returns, Carrie Kelley Robin. If y'all want to grab this awesome figure at the time of this recording, it is available on Big Bad Toy Store. And apparently there's a Mafex 2-pack version with the blue Batman on Entertainment Earth. So whichever way you want to get this Carrie Kelley Robin, go pick it up. I love that it came with the Build-A-Figure for the horse from Frank Miller's comic, though sadly I'm probably not going to build it because I don't really want the other figures, because I'm just weird that way. Awesome packaging. We can see how it gets built. Traditional McFarlane packaging. Window on the back. That is a cool action figure photography shot there. Shows you how to build the horse. I will get a close-up of the figures in the wave so you can check it out at your convenience. Around on the side, as I always say, I love that they put the name here so when you're at the store, you can figure out which figure is on the peg so you're not having to dig relentlessly. Love that it says Batman, The Dark Knight Returns. Same on the top here. Just a great homage to the beautiful work and, light ground-changing comic that Frank Miller made. But with all that aside, is the action figure in and of itself worth a flip? Let's crack it open and get a closer look. Caroline Carrie Keene was created by Frank Miller, Klaus Janson, and Lynn Varley. Her first appearance was Batman The Dark Knight Returns, issue 1 from June 1986. She was inspired by Batman after he saved her and her friend from mutant gang members. And apparently, during the creation of the series, fellow comics John Byrne told Frank Miller, Robin must be a girl. And Miller agreed. She appeared in a Robin outfit in issue 2, The Dark Knight Triumphant. Idolizing the Dark Knight, she spends her lunch money on a Robin outfit, sets out to attack petty conmen and to find Batman in the hopes of becoming his partner. After saving Batman from being murdered by the mutant's leader, Bruce takes her under his tutelage, despite Alfred's protests reminding him of what happened to Jason Todd. Unlike Robin's past, Carrie is not an orphan, but she has ignorant and neglectful parents, and they actually mutter, "Didn't we have a kid?" And in 2001, The Dark Knight strikes again. She adopts the identity of Catgirl, which, if you haven't read that one, you're really going to have to suffer through some divisive artwork. Just heads up. Then eventually, she becomes Batwoman in the 2015 The Dark Knight 3, The Master Race, which was relatively interesting, seeing with what happens with Kandor and all that stuff. So there is some excellent reading suggestions for Carrie Kelley. Keep in mind, this all takes place in a kind of a hypothetical what-if future. And I was talking to our community member, Supertron, and he said that it seems like the prototype for the Death in the Family kind of came out of, because in the original Dark Knight Returns, they didn't elaborate on what happened to Jason Todd till way later down the road in a one-shot. But during this time, all Alfred said was, remember what happened to Master Todd. So I think that was kind of used as a proto-form of what they decided to do with Jason Todd moving forward. Could be wrong. Let us know down in the comments. Now, as for the accessories that Carrie comes with, of course, she comes with the regular stand, just like every character does, so cool, but whatever. Then she comes with her slingshot, and that's kind of her weapon of choice. And I love that silver sheen. Now, you got to be careful with this, the rubber band. It can break, but if you pose it just right, you can get her finger arched into it to make it look like she's projecting something at somebody. So that's a fun little addition. Other than that, no extra heads, no extra weapons, nothing like that. But she does come with trading card. The action figure shot's not too bad, but I would rather get comic panels just so that those who are not in the know can kind of see what books they come from. So it's an okay shot, but I'd prefer action figure art. I'll also make sure you get the back so you guys get to read up on what McFarlane said about her and pause it at your convenience. Now, as for the paint apps, I like how when Carrie took over the mantle, since this is supposed to make a retro future, they give her sort of like the hairstyle kind of reminds me of the, oh crap, of course I'm on camera so my brain goes blank. The Ninja Turtle cartoon, the future kids from Dimension X. Oh my god, I can't remember. But anyway, they're like hot rodding teenagers and they kind of have these wild cyberpunk haircuts, and that's kind of what you get from Carrie here. And I love that once she donned the Robin outfit, instead of just taking the regular black mask like Dick and everyone else wore, she kept these retro glasses. I thought that was kind of funky, but added a nice little allure. You can kind of see her eyes in there, which is cool. I'm glad that it just wasn't painted over. That would have been really frustrating. Face looks good. The outfit overall isn't bad looking. I mean, you can see that when they did the, what do you call them, the groblins for the Dark Knight's metal, and then the gold label, I'm getting ready to do a photo shoot, so hence why his head's backwards like the Exorcist. You can see that they use the same body. The only thing difference between these two is Dick has more like the dentical style underwear, whereas Carrie's is just a matte black. The one thing, though, that I hate with both of these figures is the itty bitty baby feet. Oh, so ugly. They should have made both of these feet wider. The only thing that Grayson has is his feet look more natural, as with Carrie, since she's an earlier figure, they gave her those ugly ass ball joints, which none of us like. And unfortunately, Dick suffers from that ball joint on his wrist, as does Carrie. I wish that McFarlane would have figured out how Hasbro did the pinless joints, because I just would have looked so much nicer. But overall, the red looks good. The big R, like the comic, looks good. The cape, unfortunately, because this was an early release, is that ugly, fat, plastic piece of crap cape that we're all sick of. And I kind of wish that, with Dick, this was a gold label. They were just, I think Catman was one of the first ones that had the cape, and I wish they would have waited, taken their time, and given him a bendy wire cape too, because they're so freaking ugly. I hate him. Ugh. Anyway, moving on. Her jerkin looks awesome. Of course, just looks like how Robin is supposed to look. So overall, Carrie Kelley looks like she's supposed to in the original comic books. Absolutely epic looking paint apps. Love that you can actually see how the collar bends down. I wish that they would have maybe done some dry brushing just to make it stand out against the cape or something. That would have been a nice addition. As for the articulation, it's what you'd expect from a McFarlane figure. So because she has short hair, you can get a nice range of motion on the head. Again, I've said this over and over. Make sure, especially with McFarlane and NECA toys, warm them up before you do anything. Get them like in front of a space heater, not like directly on it, but maybe just far away, like that far, or hot water as long as they don't have metal joints, and let them get nice and loose. And while they're warm and pliable, just gently start moving the joints around, and then just kind of keep them in that position. Like, let's say if you're doing the arms, move the hands around and then set it aside. Let the figure cool off. The plastic will solidify more, and they won't snap and break like a lot of people have been running into. Now, one thing that I do like about the McFarlane figures compared to Hasbro, like the Legends, where you can see all the articulation movements and you get those holes in the figure, I like that they're hidden here. But the problem with that, though, is when you try to get them to bend, it's a little bit rougher. Because you're supposed to be able to bend also with the solar plex, so when they're covered like this, it's sort of a catch-22 if you can do it or not. Thankfully, it kind of has like a faux butterfly joint, so you can bring her arms in really close, and of course they spin. Thankfully, the cape does not hinder it. She does have the upper arm swivel, double-jointed arms, and then those ugly-ass bull joints. That's the one thing about the McFarlane line that I wish they'd fix. But when I first got this figure out of the packaging, these ball joints are sometimes a bane of my existence. My first Grifter figure out of the packaging, I was trying to do this, just gently doing what I'm doing right now, and it snapped. That's another reason why you want to warm your figures up. Now, in conjunction to being able to twist the torso, it does do that far out, that far forward, double jointed knees. And again, I wish for the pinless technology, because look at how ugly and unnatural that looks in a bent motion. At least you get the range, but it just looks ugly aesthetic-wise. Foot, twisty. And I do like the toe pivot. It just looks more natural when they walk. I remember hating it when I first saw it. And unlike Hasbro, they do not suffer from the butt flap. It's plastic, so you can actually move the leg back in a 90-degree angle. So, paint apps, beautiful. Articulation, even though this is an earlier iteration of McFarlane's releases, still holds up. This is probably my biggest gripe. And then, of course, the baby feet. Oh, I hate the baby feet. I don't know, just a couple more inches wide just would have helped with keeping this thing balanced. But overall, I'm happy to have it in my collection. Dark Knight Returns is one of those major breeding if you're a Batman fan, definitely one of those major reading points that you've got to have read along with Grant Morrison's Arkham Asylum, Alan Moore's The Killing Joke, because you can see she does have the, what do you call it? Even though it's an early one, she at least has the upper thigh cut that's hidden, unlike Hasbro. So anyway, beautiful piece overall. Now here's Carrie Kelley next to the gold label Action Comics Superman with that gorgeous bendy wire cape. This is the Dark Knight Returns Armored Batman. Sadly, he has those hard plastic capes. This is the gold label Dick Grayson Robin that just came out a couple years ago. And you can see how McFarlane basically used the same body mold for both of these characters. As I said with Carrie, I hate this tiny, tiny feet thing. It looks ugly. And it just makes it so hard to stand the characters. You just have to kind of be very careful in what you do. You know what I'm saying? But setting that aesthetic aside, these characters look beautiful all together. I'm happy for them. I wish, though, that the bendy wire cape thing did not come so late into the line, because I just absolutely hate these. There's nothing to do with them, and they're so hard to try to flip up when you want to make them look wavy. And they weigh the characters down. If they would have, see, I'm already having trouble with that loose foot to that tiny, tiny foot. I mean, don't get me wrong, like this one, we've gone over this one, so I'll try to remember to put the card in the video. You know, they got the sheen nice, and I like that it's not as heavy. But still, there's nothing you can do with it. If that would have been a bendy wire cape, that would have looked absolutely amazing. And even him, he has the bigger feet, and he's still kind of hard to pose once in a while. But still, this is the route to go. And this is what I was talking about, that this should just be a standard across the board anymore, to give you just a more dynamic range of, even if you're just going to pose them on a shelf or do action figure photography, these plastic capes just need to go. It's such an antiquated way of doing things, and I'm glad that at least certain companies are starting to finally phase that crap out. So what do you all think? What do you plan to do with your Carrie Kelley action figure, or any of your McFarlane or Mafex action figures? Speaking of which, we will eventually go over this one, and we'll go over the Mafex, which I have gone over as well, so I'll try to also remember to leave a card somewhere in this review. Are you guys going to pose them on a shelf? Are you doing action figure photography? What do you plan to do with your Batman and Superman action figures? Let us know. We'd love to see photos. Check out our social media pages and let us know. Personally, I am happy to have a Carrie Kelley in my collection. As I've stated, that The Dark Knight Returns was one of those pivotal moments that really set the standard for Batman back in the day, and a lot of people to this day still try to emulate. So having one of these, in my personal opinion, underrated characters in my action figure collection, I am a major happy Batman fan. It is an upgrade from the Mattel one. I kind of wish I hadn't sold it, but life happens. So I have this one. I do wish, though, that she would have been upgraded before she was released, instead of having the ugly, bulky cape. I wish that was a bendy wire. And this is what I always mean by pinless technology, is because I wish that they would get something from Hasbro, because these pins and like a pantless leg just look so off when you're trying to pose, and takes forever in Photoshop and post-production to photography to get all those joints out of the shot. Nonetheless, as I just said, if you are a Batman fan, this is a must-have for your collection. So if you've enjoyed what you have seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop, or wherever it is like to get your action figures and comics, and grab this action figure. Or check out the places we talked about at the beginning of the review. Speaking of, if you did enjoy this review, really would appreciate you taking a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little Dark Knight bell next, subscribe. That way, as I continue to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and I love talking with y'all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments or the socials, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, photo slideshow coming up next. Hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, everyone.